Well, today is the 9th of April, and I don't normally make a video from the confines of my man cave, but it's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting ready to start my day, or like try to begin to start the day. I just wanted to talk about a couple things that are raging in the news at the moment. The first thing is the supposed return of the dire wolf, right? One of my interests, most of my entire life has been extinct animals. Of course, there's dinosaurs, but and truth be told, once I kind of grew out of the dinosaur stuff, I was always kind of fascinated with Pleistocene era animals, mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, so on. I've always found it fascinating. I got a lot of books on the subject. And when I've talked about this to people, I like people to remember that everything that you see alive today was alive, at the end of the last ice age. So all the wild animals you see alive today were alive when there were saber-toothed cats, when there were American lions, when there were mastodons and mammoths. Everything you see alive today, every bird, everything. What you see now is the remnant of what used to be, basically. There's just, there was a lot more life on the planet in the past than there is now. And we can sit around and debate why that is. But so let me give you a little... Let me give you a little science-based thing on dire wolves that they aren't telling you, okay? If you want fake-ass news, this is fake-ass news all over. Yesterday and the day before, all I saw was, first time in 10,000 years, the howl of dire wolves. This isn't a dire wolf. All right, so let me explain to you. We do not have any full remains of a dire wolf like we have with mammoths or woolly rhinoceroses or even steppe bisons. We got full mummified remains of a steppe bison found in the permafrost. We recently have one of the saber-toothed cats, a homotherium cub that was found mummified. And what the color of the hair is and everything and so on and so forth. We know what mammoths look like because we found their frozen remains. We know what woolly mammoths look like because we found their frozen remains. But we have nothing like this of a dire wolf. But we have thousands of perfectly preserved skeletons, complements of the La Brea tar pits in California. Now, why is that? Well, the tar pits in California were what was called a predator trap. It would rain, there'd be rain on water on the surface of the tar. It's a petroleum-based product. And let's say ground sloth or something came in there to get a drink. It got stuck in the sticky tar, couldn't get out, and it's struggling to get out, and it attracts predators. And the next thing you know, the predators are stuck. And in the La Brea tar pits, they found all kinds of things there. But by far, they have found more dire wolves than anything else. And so there's no flesh. There's just perfectly preserved bones because of the acidification and the preserving nature of petroleum, basically. And what do we know about this animal? Well, they think that they lived in large numbers. They were called wolves because superficially that's kind of how they looked. But truth be told, they have done DNA samples and studies And it's apparent that this animal's closest living relative are the African jackals. Or maybe there's another jackal called the golden jackal, and it doesn't live in North America, obviously. But it's its closest living relative. It's not even, the dire wolf isn't even a wolf. I want you to understand this. It's like, it's like comparing a wolf to a fox. The dire wolf was not a wolf. So what this company did, this colossal company wants to de-extinct certain animals like the dodo bird, passenger pigeon, the woolly mammoth is their big project, right? So what they did is they used a gene editing technology called CRISPR. And what they did is they got some DNA from two separate sources. One was a tooth, one was the inner ear bone of a skull. They supposedly had different dates by thousands of years. And they got enough material out of that, enough genetic DNA material, where they could read the genome. And what they did is they took this common gray wolf, and they in vitro fertilization and created some wolf embryos. And what they did is they went in there with this CRISPR technology. They recognized the specific genes in the wolf, and they basically rearranged them to match. It's called gene editing. They took out the specific code. They rearranged the specific code of the gray wolf to match these genetic markers that they found from the dire wolf samples. So they didn't even use the DNA from the bones. They basically mapped it out, recognized what it was. They found these genes in different positions in the wolf genome, and they rearranged those genes like a puzzle piece. And put those same exact genes that were in a gray wolf, they rearranged them into the sequence that the dire wolves had. And there were some unexpected consequences. They didn't expect certain things. They didn't know what to think of it. Like the animals are white. Apparently they got a mane. Okay, so it's not a dire wolf. It's a genetically modified gray wolf. It's a GMO wolf that has had its genes manipulated to produce phenotypical traits of a dire wolf. Do you understand this? Basically, they genetically modified this animal, rearranged its genome to match that of the DNA from the dire wolf. So basically, you have a GMO wolf. It's not a dire wolf at all. At all. And read the media headlines in regards to this. The return of the dire wolf. No! The damn thing was a giant jackal. And they do believe, based on its structures of its bones, it was heavier built, it was bigger, it was stronger. It had stronger bones, stronger teeth. And these things lived alongside gray wolves. Why didn't they breed? Why didn't they breed together? The point being is they think, because of all the megafauna that was around and all the predators that were around, that these animals might have lived filled the niche that like a hyena or jackals do in Africa. They might have been predatory too, or opportunistic as well. But the point being is they weren't really wolves. So this is nonsense. If COVID didn't get your attention about the media blowing stuff up, lying, making shit up, maybe this will. If you do now, not saying that this wasn't an interesting achievement. This is a wonderful way to take an endangered species and give them more artificial diversity in case they've been bottlenecked by inbreeding. Okay, that's fine. But you're never going to produce a dire wolf with DNA because the spirit of that animal is gone. Hear me out on this. There's an old saying that extinction is forever. It's absolutely true. Extinction is forever. let's just say, let's put it like this. Let's say human beings went extinct and some aliens came down and chimpanzees are still here. They found human DNA and they did the same thing, but they did it with a chimp. Basically, you're not going to have a human, you're not going to recreate a human being. You're going to create some kind of weird, bizarre chimp human hybrid that will never be human because the spirit of the human is gone. And I'm talking in a metaphysical space here, whether people, atheists and stuff, they don't believe in this stuff. But the truth, this is really the truth. Every living creature has a spirit unto its own kind. Not just as an individual, but onto its own kind. So cattle have a spirit that are cattle. A buffalo has got a spirit of a buffalo. It doesn't have the spirit of a domesticated cow. I can go in a little more detail about this, but let's say we'll just use horses as an example. A horse has its own spirit, right? Now we can debate whether wild horses, the domestic horses, as long as it's the same animal. Let's take a donkey and a horse, and you get a mule. A mule has characteristics of both physical characteristics of both a donkey and a horse, but it has its own type of spirit. And once it's gone, it's gone. Now, and then you have individuals, and everybody that owns dogs knows this is true, and even specific breeds have specific physical characteristics and maybe temperaments, but they still all have individual personalities within that spirit. But once something goes extinct, you can't get that spirit back. The Word of God says everything that dies, its spirit or its life returns back to the Father. You got these hyper Christians that think that animals don't have souls, or animals don't have spirits, animals don't go to heaven. Well, where does the Father reside? He lives in the heavenly realm. And if the spirit of something passes and it returns back to the Father, where is it going? Right? We can debate whether it's there in physical form or not. But the point being is, everything that has the breath of life has its own type of spirit. And even plants have their own type of spirit. And this is not something a lot of Christians think about. But if you look in the scriptures and you read the scriptures, you'll find this stuff in there. The scriptures really focus more on God and his character and his relationship to human beings. But God has a relationship to all things that he created because he called it very good. So nothing with life in it is really, truly, it's not dead. It's not empty. And we don't live just in a physical world, regardless of what people think. So there is no dire wolf. There will never be dire wolves again. All you will get is GMOs. And if I'll cut this short just to give you a little understanding. You want to see a GMO organism? Go to your local PetSmart and look at the glowfish. They come in red, green, blue, and pink. And there's several different species of quote-unquote glowfish. There's zebrafish, there's glass tetras, there's black tetras, there's cory cats, and even bettas now. Right? And what they've done is they genetically modified these creatures to glow under black light. And what they did is they took glow-in-the-dark genes from sea anemones, specific corals, and some jellyfish. And they spliced them into these fish and market them as glowfish. They have also done this with cats. They have done it with rats. They've done it with mice. And they've done it with rabbits. And they might have even done it with dogs at this point. And under black light, they glow in the dark. This is not a joke. You could look it up. And you could probably buy a glow rat somewhere or a glow rabbit somewhere. But if you really want to see these genetically modified organisms right now that are a chimera, because they're basically this particular fish, these particular species of fish with these genes from another creature in it. every time you consume strawberries, you're consuming GMO strawberries because most strawberries have been genetically modified with a type of protein from a bacterium that allows them to be frost resistant. And here's another one. Years ago, there was talk about what they called the frankenfish. It was a salmon that you can raise in captivity that grew to market size quickly. Under normal circumstances, it takes salmon years to grow to maturity because they have this life cycle where they go out in the ocean and they come back to freshwater rivers and streams to breed, and it takes years and years. Well, in captivity, it doesn't really work so well. So what they did is they took a gene from a fish called a pollock, the growth gene from a pollock, and it's in these genetically modified salmon to make the salmon grow quickly and in captive conditions so they can get to market quicker. Is it dangerous to eat? No, because you eat pollock every time you eat a filet of fish sandwich from McDonald's. Pollock is also called imitation crab. You're eating pollock. So when you're eating pollock, it's the same. There's nothing dangerous about eating this genetically modified fish. The problem with these things is if they get out into the environment and they breed with the natural strain, they put those traits that they were never meant to have in the first place. And then you got a problem. Then you have a problem. But we got genetically modified corn, we got GMO grain, we got GMO soybeans, we got GMO everything. And it just depends on what you got them GMOing with. You know, if you have a corn plant that is producing insulin, and this isn't fantasy, this is reality, where you can harvest insulin from processing the corn. If you have corn that's producing insulin and you got people eating this corn, you're going to jack people up. So there are dangers to some of this stuff, okay? But generally speaking, it's relatively safe if you're doing things properly. But abuse of this kind of stuff is scary. It's scary. So basically, there are no more dire wolves. There will never be woolly mammoths. All you will end up with is really a hairy hybrid with an Indian elephant. You will never, ever get what was lost. It'll never come back. The only thing that I think you could probably pull off is if you could do this with the remains of cave lions and American lions, because we still have lions. Do you understand? You still have lions. And lions were once the most numerous predator on the planet. So you still have lions. You still have the possibility to genetically engineer a cave lion or an American lion. But because the lions are not extinct. I hope that makes sense, and I hope it was simplified. I know it was about 20 minutes, but I hope it was worth your time. Until next time.